Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is about 10:05. Another horrible, wonderful, wonderful, God bless, adorable angel cherub baby. Love her to bits. No regrets. Marguerite would not go to sleep. Marguerite probably fell asleep around 9:45 tonight. So I had wanted to do this live stream. As I said yesterday, I wanted to do a walk around the shop, but schools head off, and it was just too busy in the shop. I had an hour where really I had only one or two people in, so I had time to go move things around for the sale and get the pricing out and get it all together, and then busy all day, busy all day, busy all day. Tomorrow we are going to look at new books, and we're going to look at the sale. We are not going to look at every single item in the sale on Tuesday online. Tuesday online, I'm going to take time to go through bookshelves. It's a lot of buy one, get one free, buy two, get one free bookshelves. A lot of 50% off shelves, some 75% off shelves. We're going to look through those where I can just go through the camera, and then when people can pause and have time to look at things like boxes or single issues and sets, we're probably not going to look at. Unless no one shows up for the sale, and we have plenty of time. I had a huge back order come through from the sale. Penguin Random House did, and I have a large back order from Hachette. I talked about this. I had a return there. I was just waiting for the credit to go through, so I wasn't refusing to pay my bills. We all knew that I had a credit card. We were just waiting for it to process, and it processed, and all my books got released that I haven't gotten in the last 3 weeks. So I thought that was coming today, coming tomorrow. So I'm going to be going through that, dealing with hopefully people showing up for the sale, showing all y'all here on YouTube the sale, as well as, I wonder if because I put blank blanks in the title, a bunch of asterisks, it's just not sharing this. I would love that. Because this isn't really one where I want a whole bunch of random people coming on. I wonder if really I just did something that made it that people are not getting notifications, because I would be shocked that Joe would not be coming on. But anyway, it's good because I don't want just random people jumping into this. This is a dedicated live stream. This is a live stream specifically about one book, and that's the new book by Raina Telgemeier and Scott McCloud, the Cartoonist Club. This book is out tomorrow, April 1st. If you're watching this later, this book came out on April 1st. Some comic shops might not have it till April 2nd, depending on who their distribution is, etc., etc. This is a book that I was so confident about that without reading a full ARC, without reading a complete version of the book, we had the library. Now, if you know Huntington, if you know where we are, our library is literally 2 blocks away. The library is 2 blocks away. They ordered a dozen copies of this book from me, which is great for me. Now, I already had 2 dozen on order, so I could have just given them one of those. Said, okay, you know what? And now I'll be able to point people to the library. It's their book of the month. They're gonna have lots of copies to lend out. I said, you know what? I'm gonna order another dozen for them because that is how confident I am about this book. But that is not because this book is the greatest book ever written, because this book connects with every reader across it. This is actually a very niche book. This is an intensely niche book. This is a book on the level of a Warhammer graphic novel that takes place in a specific time period, a specific place that's famously alluded to a few times, but nobody knows. It's just like a mythic lore thing. That's how niche this is. Because as much as this is Raina Telgemeier, whose books regularly, constantly, always stay in print, get into print, go into bestseller lists, they moved her into the series for a bunch of her books so that they wouldn't be competing with the other graphic novels in the New York Times bestseller list. Scott McCloud. So this is why I titled this book this. Scott McCloud is one of those names that if someone says, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge comic fan," and I go, "Oh yeah," I mean, I would never do this. It's such a dick thing to do, but I'm like, I love Scott McCloud, and if they don't instantly go, oh, Scott McCloud, then they don't really know comics. Not because he's the greatest creator out there, because when I say know comics, I mean know how comics work, what a comic book is, what defines the vast array of things that a comic book can do. When I know comics, you gotta know who Scott McCloud is. So what I hold in my hands, this book that is out, literally, Amazon has probably already started shipping them out this morning, uh, and whatever, out tomorrow. Cartoonist Club. What is astounding here is that this is a complete synthesis of these two creators. Raina Telgemeier is the Steven Spielberg of young adult graphic novels. Raina Telgemeier has put out a few for-pay commercial books, the Babysitter's Club books, and then a string of independent, just spot on. One of my favorite books of hers, Ghosts, is a young adult book that I constantly tell people is Miyazaki meets Gabriel Garcia Marquez as a graphic novel. Like that's who Raina Telgemeier is. Raina Telgemeier can't do that. That's to me, Ghosts is peak. It's her greatest. But the reason she can do that is she is just an intensely competent and exceptionally brilliant comic creator. She knows every single detail that she is putting in here. Perspective, angle, expression, simplicity, complexity, all of that. She's considering all of that on a level of the highest creators. People talk about Jack Kirby laying out a page. There's pictures of like time lapse over a few hours, and there's even video later of Jack Kirby laying out a page and defining his action. And it's just like, it's like watching a sculptor. He just takes the page and boom, he takes these ideas of action and turns them into just a cohesive single page that also flows. Raina, again, I've seen videos of Raina draw. I don't think I've ever seen videos of her lay out a page, but I would imagine that Raina is thinking about comics on the level that, again, tons and tons and tons and tons of people are. When I say this book is a niche book, hey Joe, when I say this book is a niche book, I mean its content, not the quality in which it's made. This is not a niche book in the sense of, oh, you have to like really be into that. So this is a niche book because what it covers, what it talks about is how comics work. Now, there's loads of comics out there that talk about kids making comics, that have tutorials about kids making comics, that have kids desperately wishing they could make their own comics. There are literally, there's dozens of them. I know that we don't talk about this kind of stuff too much anymore, the kids market being so bloated that I really only talk about the new stuff we get. But there are a lot of books like this, but they're not made by Scott McCloud and Raina Telgemeier. They're not. This is like, okay, Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg teaming up to make a movie to teach kids how to make movies. Right? How is that? That's what this is. Okay, Scott McCloud understands so it means that besides for the fact that it's a great little story teaching about comics, the actual emotional payoff moment when this character takes a giant out. Joe, hold on to your hats because we've all been here, okay? A giant fantasy epic that she, at the age of 12, has written in her head and just can't begin to even figure out where to start telling the story because there's just so many parts to, makes a tiny mini comic of 8 pages of the first event that she wants to tell for her first adventure and holds it in her hands. The way Raina lays this page out, the way she's made her characters expressive and not expressive, and what she's chosen to do with them throughout the book, makes this moment, a third of the way in, so satisfying. So, look at that, look at her. If you haven't made your own zine, you're going to read that scene and be like, I want to do that. That's how good this is. But, loads of kids read Raina Telgemeier for the emotional content. They're not paying attention to how the comic is made. Loads of kids are interested in how comics are made, but do not want a long narrative about people trying out different foods and learning how to be friends, even though they like different things. Or books with diagrams. There's kids who are just like, oh, this is like a how-to, and they don't want to read it. Like, this is a huge risk. What Scholastic and the creators are looking for, what they're believing is that there is a market of kids between the ages of 10 and 14 who really love the idea of making comics. You don't have to. This book is not, when you finish this book, we'll teach you how to make your own comic. It's not about that. It's about why and how someone would make a comic. And in saying how would someone make a comic, it discusses, where are we? Acting, what we call acting, how bodies are expressed in a comic book to make a point. But it does it with this character who's so shy that she can't talk at all to the main characters when she meets it, opening up because she's talking about something she's interested in. Right? No, Joe, you and I would have devoured this book. But there's emotional payoffs that only Raina Telgemeier can deliver in this book that are so subtle and so smart, while also showing how effective the things showing this girl using her body language like that and all these word balloons makes such a difference. You saw the page I showed with her before. Where is it? Here she is when we first meet her. Avoiding them, going out of her way to change seats so she's not near them, the way her body is. This is all stuff that you, throughout the book, learn. And then when those scenes are happening, here's where, okay, now, I know I'm talking about a book aimed at kids, but here's where it gets crazy. They start pulling their own word balloons down. They start pointing at the panels they're in. This is hard to do, okay? This is breaking, okay? They do it in movies occasionally. This is hard to do. And get your confidence back, and get the attention of the... They do it a couple times, and it just works. They just, yeah, sure, that just happened. Knock it out of the park. And you're not even hesitating for a second to move in and out of the reality of it being a book, of it being a book about a book. You're fine. Because this is just, I mean, just look at this. Again, this is Lydia's story. Shy, right, Lydia? Sorry, I zoom through these things. Linda, sorry, it has a Y. That's Linda. Again, look at the body language. Look at these things that they're going to teach you about, but they're never going to reference that. That would be weird to talk about her body language 40 pages ago. No, but each character, right, has this is one of the characters having a realization moment that he wants to talk to his parents about. But they're not major. They're not life-changing moments. They're not next level, oh my God, like a Raina Telgemeier book, because it's mainly about comics and what comics can accomplish. This is a book to give to, in the niche world. Oh, you've read all the Cat Kid Comics Clubs, but now you're kind of bored of them because you're reading Raina and Babysitter's Club, and you wish there was... This is Cat Kid's Comic Club. This is the next level. But now there's something to bridge Cat Kid Comic Club and Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. That's not How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. There's a really great book, but there's kids who read Raina for the drama and the tension only, and I don't know how they're going to react. I don't know that this is going to be a huge seller. I was very confident that it would be, because I knew it would be a masterpiece, and it is a masterpiece. But I'm not worried about the copies I have right now. The copies I have right now are going to sell right away because it's a masterpiece, and I'm going to tell people it's a masterpiece. I'm talking about the longevity of it. I still sell Smile to kids who go, oh, my friend read that, it's supposed to be so good. Or, oh, I read Sisters or Guts, and I wanted to read that one, and they buy it. And Ghosts and Drama to kids who've read one Raina or the other. This one could be the odd one out after that. This could become the book for, oh, that's for kids who like comics. It's not for me. I'm very curious. But if you love, if you're like, what's Scott McCloud's next book coming out? He did all those Understanding Comics. Hasn't done anything since. Sorry, that's a quote. It's a quote from someone who I believe owned but hadn't read any of the Understanding Comics after I continued to talk to him. But he's like, but he's supposed to be this big creator. I'd never finished Zot. And I was like, Okay, so you just know stuff you heard. Like I'm like, do you read that? That's great. It doesn't really need an ending. He ended it, and then it just, and they're like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it. Anyway, this is the next Scott McCloud book. Scott McCloud co-drew a lot of the layouts, which you can tell. A lot of the discussion about um, how to make choices in story. It reads like a lot of Scott McCloud stuff if you've read his later works. Um, but also, again, something Raina just like I said, she's Steven Spielberg. Raina is this exceptionally adroit cartoonist. She just nails what she's doing, and what she's doing here is showing you four kids who love comics, loving comics and learning more about comics and loving learning about comics, and that's what it's about. In on the way, you learn about comics. Um, it's America's answer to Bakuman. Is another way to put it. But yeah, I think in the long run, this will be the stepping stone from the Cat Kid Comic Club. This is cemented already in my mind as a perennial. Kids will get Cat Kid Comic Club. I read all of them, but I wanted something that's a little bit like more in depth, like how my comic could be better. Boom. But it's going to be interesting to see if it becomes a New York Times bestseller right away. And stays on that list, or just as like a week or two until I don't know. But I'm sure I'm sure it's like the number one graphic novel on Amazon and Barnes and Noble if you go look right now for releases for tomorrow. I can't imagine. I mean, there's lots of great stuff out. We're gonna look at stuff tomorrow, but this is again a masterclass. Here's a great one. This Jeff character is one of the three or four. B characters who are based on famous comic creators. Jeff Kinney, Cece Bell, I believe, is the other one. I can't remember. It's Trina. She's like Trina Robbins. I can't remember who the other one was, but yeah, it's really fun. This is her selling her first comic to this Jeff guy. Look at that. She's running around the room. Like, this is not Raina. This is Scott McCloud right here. Scott loves to use space like that. And look at how the circle along the bottom matches the space along the top here. Like, it's masterful comics. Okay, when they discuss in 1,000 years, when future historians discuss the I don't know what they'll call it, but the comic era, they're gonna put like Nancy and Raina next to each other. They're gonna Ernie Bushmiller, Raina Telgemeier, Scott McCloud, like formalistically. Mazzucchelli, Telgemeier. Who else is a massive formalist? No. See, it's not about being a massive formalist. That's the thing. It's not about being awesome at how to make comics and the form of making comics. It's doing it in a way that the audience, unless they were drawing attention to it, like they so often do in this comic. I mean, literally, there's a lot of dramatic tension happening here, but it's really just people having insights into how stories are told. This is, to me, one of the most interesting parts where they discuss what you choose to include in a story and not include in a story. And it's very, very smart because it introduces the idea, never goes further, but it introduces the idea that the story we're reading is not the complete story for these characters. It really gives depth to them as characters by reminding us that we're seeing a limited view. Time is passing. This is a weekly club, so you're reading like 6 months of their life, but their life is happening around you, and it's really smart. It's really, it's great comics. It's what we were talking about when we said that when I said we. No one argued with me though, so we're going to say we're in concord. When I said the young adult market is where the best people are making comics, because they know who they're making these comics for. Raina and Scott. Oh my God, Scott McCloud, guys. Scott McCloud drove around the freaking country for a year talking at high schools, middle schools, and colleges about the art of what is in a comic. He got every question from a teen you could ever get about making comic books. And Raina is one of the most toured young adult authors. Like, these are people who've literally spent the last decades being bombarded with questions about how you make comics. And they answer. It's just, I like, again, I sound absurd, but if you care, again, you're going to say, well, I'm a comic professional. I know everything about how a comic is made. I'll say, absolutely. But do you enjoy seeing it done well? Do you enjoy? That's a great comic. Even if it's not a comic you like, then you should still get it. You're not going to learn. I know what a Growlix is. What's a prude? I know what that is. Doesn't matter. That's not what I mean. You're not going to learn that comics don't have to be perfect. You don't have to learn confidence or whatever. You can learn amazing layout. I mean, David Harper, I believe it was David Harper, did an entire sketch just pulling apart the shapes and energy, not energy, direction of a Arena page and how just so good it is. You couple that with Scott McCloud there as a co-conspirator. Ooh, it's really raining beautifully outside. Really beautifully. Anyway, this is a tremendous book. You don't have to get it. If you don't enjoy young adult stuff, if seeing kids be excited about learning about new things, you're like, that doesn't sound like a book, don't get it. You shouldn't get it. It's not a hard sell kind of thing. If you're like, oh, a bunch of kids being nerds about making comics, yeah, I don't really want to see that. Don't get it. But if you go, oh, that's cute, or, oh, well, I just want to see what they say about making comics, I mean, there's so much to see. It's really exceptional. And if you're, in my opinion, if you're a grown-up reading it, to see about making comics, look at the document itself, look at the comic, and look at the choices they made, and look at the layouts. Every time he's home, the panels are super stark and thin and compressed to show you how closed in he is at home. Like, it's, they're next level comic makers on every page. Look at the layouts of these pages, how they contrast with each other. How it's jarring. Just, so you can learn something from that. It works on so many levels. Absolutely recommended. Heavily stocked. And while that's going on, we're also clearancing out tons of stuff. I just literally was slapping stickers on things, and I went, you know what? This is buy one, get one free too. Forget it. Forget 30% off. This was 30% off, 75% off. So huge discounts at the Culling. Possibly the best book that's going to come out all year, especially if the tariffs hit. China. Anyway, till tomorrow when we look at the rest of the new books, which are also quite excellent, but what are you competing with? Yeah. Remember, damn it, babies, you got to be kind.